Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 2 in a best of 3 between Player and Walther in the semi-finals of the Steel Division League Code S. Today we are going to be seeing Colleville, and on the Allied side Player has the Guards Armoured, and on the Axis side Walther has the Festung Gross-Paris. So, this is game 2, and in game 1 we saw Walther defeat Player, so Player has to win this game if we want to move on to a game 3, and Player needs to do that in order to have a chance to move to the finals. So I feel like this is going to be a really, really close game again, because both of the players showed just how strong they were in the last game. But these divisions, they aren't divisions that I've seen either player use too often. Player with the Guards Armoured, of course, very good with the Humber Mark 3s early on. You can see he's already placed quite a few down. They have access to other decent armour like the Cromwell 7s, they get Cromwell 5s in Phase A, and they also have the Stuart 6s, which are really good for supporting infantry early on and taking out lighter armoured vehicles. So those, accompanied by the reasonably good infantry availability, can be very, very strong. Over on the side of the Festung, they rely quite a lot on mismatched units, especially the 2-star Puma in Phase A. That could definitely struggle against something like the Cromwell 7 or even the Cromwell 5s for that matter, due to the AP not having that high of a percentage to penetrate the front armour of a Cromwell 5. But we'll have to wait and see if Walther even decides to use it, because there is of course the infantry strategy. The Beveraungs, the Landerschutzen, Feldgendarmerie, and then you have things like the Panzerschreck squads and AT guns. So you can kind of rely on that in the early game, and then as you move into Phase B, really take advantage of the 135 points per minute. Aside from all of that, you do of course have the bombers, so those can be another thing in order to take on the armour of the Guards Armoured, because basically what you do is you bring in a bomber, you carpet bomb the tanks, and then you use a light armoured vehicle to just surrender them. So that's kind of what I'm looking at here from Walther in order to counter the armoured playstyle that's going to come out of the Guards Armoured. Now if we look at the map as a whole, we can see that on the bottom side I feel like Walther's going to have the upper hand due to the infantry engagement just in general. But on the top side I think Player can definitely get a mobile force going and really press through until he gets up to around these tree lines here, which do present an issue, especially on the top side, which can be quite hard to get around because you are kind of pushed from all sorts of directions down here, and there's plenty of cover for Walther to get units into position. So let's have a look at the units going down on either side. For Player, he has 4 Humber Mark 3s. That is quite a lot of Humbers, all with their recon squads. Then we see the Command Infantry with the Cromwell 6 and also the Stuart 6 and a unit of either rifles or Bren group. Now, I didn't actually mention the Cromwell 6s, but these are really good 1200 meter range HE units. I of course have mentioned them in the past, but in this case they will be really good for dealing with any AT guns that present themselves, and also the abundance of infantry that will be relied upon by Walther. On the bottom side, it looks like Player's just going to be relying on 2 units of infantry, one for the mid, one for the bottom side. So if Walther can find the weakness in Player's defense, then a counter push on the bottom side may work out very well. But for the most part, Walther has his units on the top side here. He is going to be bringing in the 2-star Puma at the start. He's also got the 2 Panhard MGs with the aft ladder. There's going to be the Panzerschreck, we have a Landerschutzen Beveraungs, then there's the Feldgendarmerie and the Pak 40. Further down, another Beveraungs, and then we have the Panzerschreck and 2 Beveraungs for the bottom side. These 4 units of Beveraungs, or 3 units of Beveraungs, could definitely put some pressure onto the 2 units of infantry that Player has here. And there is always the potential that these are just Bren group. And if that is the case, then I think the Beveraungs will be able to run them down quite easily. I'm just going to speed up the game. We'll get it underway, since the deployment has been rather long from both players. I think both are being rather indecisive. You can see Player switching out there briefly for a half track and an infantry squad rather than 2 infantry squads. But off we go, and we can see exactly where each player is going to deploy. So where's this Pak 40 going, I wonder? It's going to actually stop short in the mid. I'm not a massive fan of that deployment. Generally you would see the Pak 40 either press for here, or you can push it through this tree line on the top side. Because at least on this top side you can kind of cover the advance onto these tree lines, whilst also kind of covering the mid if any push comes through there. So I'm a little bit concerned about that Pak 40 placement. It's going to be very much out the way, and that very much relies on somebody pushing straight through the middle of the map, which is very unlikely. Either way, the push is coming through on the top side, and the Puma's in position. It's going to be taking shots. There goes one Humber Mark III. With the recon squad still inside, the Humber Mark IIIs will want to just get into cover as soon as possible. They are putting a lot of pressure onto the Puma, though. But they're going to be zooming on through, no doubt. I'm not sure that player is really prepared for the Panzerschreck and the Beveragung squad that are here. This could be a lot of dead Humber Mark IIIs. One thing we must not ignore, though, is that the 3 AP of the Humber Mark IIIs at a closer range is actually enough to penetrate a Puma, and that's going to cause an engine stall there. That's actually side armor showing, track wheel damaged. That's going to be a dead Puma. The half track does go down. That actually baits the shot from the Panzerschreck and the Beverungs. Both of them are now dead. I thought the Beverungs just got absolutely disintegrated there, but just got surrendered. The Pak 40 now going to be coming into play, so that's going to be preventing these units on the top side. But if that Pak 40, I feel, had been accompanying the Puma, this may have been a little bit better on the top side so far. On the bottom, it was just 2 units of rifles. They're going to be assisted by a Stuart 6 now. VulcanHDGaming actually going to be heading down to that bottom side. Still 50-50 across the board, but Walther definitely losing quite a few units at the start of this game. Now this Humber Mark III going to get an ammo storage hit. The Panzerjäger has plenty of time on target. Cromwell 6 now getting involved, trying to use a fire position command to panic the Pak 40 before it gets into line of sight. This Panzerjäger definitely will be able to deal with the Humbers quite nicely, but might struggle to deal with the Stuart 6 at close range. We are going to have to watch out for that engagement, but then again, Walther can bring in more of these Panzerjägers if he likes in order to get like a 2-prong attack, give him more angles to work with in order to overcome this force that he's up against. The only issue that he really has is this Cromwell 6, and if another Cromwell 6 does come in, then it will be able to pin down his units at range, allowing for the closer range units like the Humber Mark III and the Stuart 6 to really get on top of them, which could be a big problem. So here comes another Panzerjäger. We also see another fresh unit of infantry just to stop the little bit of extra salient on the top side. But yeah, these 2 rifles, they've got to stop multiple squads of Beverungs, and this is a lot of men. You got 30 men versus 20 men, plus the extra supporting units like these Panzerschreck. You got the Landeschützen in there and the Feldgendarmerie. This Panzerschreck probably doesn't want to get too far ahead of itself, because that is just a waste of a squad. Ideally, in that situation, you just want to send the Panzerschreck back, because it has a very high stealth to hide in the hedgerow if there's no recon nearby. So that was a very big waste, I feel, from Walther, and kind of takes away a lot of the pressure that the Panzerschreck could put on this bottom side against things like the Stuart 6 and the half-tracks. So he's basically put his infantry at a disadvantage by not keeping the Panzerschreck alive, and that's a pretty big problem. So the second Panzerjäger has come in, which was to be expected. Rifles now going to be trying to cross the field, taking a lot of damage from the HE shells from the Panzerjägers. Although the HE shell is quite low power on the Panzerjäger 35s. They are pretty damn accurate with the 2-star veterancy, so they can basically kill a man with each shot, which does generally lead to squads losing a lot of health very quickly. Okay, these rifles, they've actually ended up unloading in front of the Panzerschreck, and that is a goner. Beverung's being pinned down on this bottom side. Not really too much that Walther can do about that. They're going to be chased down. They are, of course, still in the command range for the time being, but as soon as the M5 half-track catches up, then that will be a surrendered squad, as long as player continues the chase. On this top side, VulcanHDGaming going to be weapon jabbed, and we see the rifles now taking on the Beverungs that have already been pinned by the Humber Mark III, and that's going to be a surrender. We also see that Panhard go down. Now the half-track going to be getting involved with the Bevellongs here. The Bevellongs, they only have the 100-meter range H3, so that's not really going to be very helpful against this M5 half-track engaging from that range. But this Stuart 6, I feel like, could start moving down and start engaging these infantry as well with those 330 cals. That would be really, really useful. The Cromwell 6 still getting involved here. We can see the Stuart 6 engaging the Panzerjäger briefly, now engaging the Landerschutzen, but yeah, the Cromwell 6 making sure to continue to fire position this tree line to prevent the Pak 40 from getting into a decent position. Meanwhile, on the bottom side though, that M5 half-track has managed to break through, and this is causing a +1 for player. We see the motorized rifle leader coming in. They're going to be trying to prevent the rifles from surrendering here after they lose morale. The motorized rifles will be in position to stop the Bevellongs from making any more ground, but these motorized rifle leaders will not want to be in the same forest area. Oh, a B2 has come in. That's going to be able to take care of that half-track nicely. Nice close range shot there, not really going to miss very often. 6-pounder though does take out the Panzerjäger 35 in their mid, and this Panzerjäger 35 on the top side is also under pressure by another 6-pounder. So player reinforcing his position here with these AT guns is actually very, very important in Phase A to neutralise some of this armour that Walther has brought in. So we have the Landerschutzen now coming up with the AT gun here. This is a Pak 38. Pak 38 will be able to clean up things like these Stuart 6s and Humber Mark 3s quite nicely, so decent choice. Definitely will work better than the Panzerjägers have on this top side. B2 is also pretty decent for taking on the Stuart 6s because of the high front armour. But looks like this Pak 38, that's going to be trying to take care of the half-track first. And then the Humber Mark 3. More infantry is coming in to assist against the Feldgendarmerie and Landerschutzen and Bevellongs here. We have the rifle squads on the way. But with the B2 coming in, it's actually pressing back a lot of the stuff in the mid here. And the Pak 38 putting as much pressure onto player's armour as the 6-pounders are onto Walther's armour. Now the Cromwell 7 is on the way. Cromwell 7's actually a pretty good choice to counter things like the Pak 38 and the B2, because it has that front armour that allows it to basically brush off the AP value of the Pak 38 and B2. So the B2 has 7 AP and the Pak 38 has 10, whilst the 11 front armour basically means a bounce at max range every time. The rifles here are going to be taking on the Feldgendarmerie and Landerschutzen. That's an engagement we're going to want to keep an eye on, while the M5 half-track here continues to move through further up. We'll have to be careful not to get too close to this infantry in the forest, because that is more or less a 100-meter range. And the Feldgendarmerie could take out the M5 half-track if they moved slightly upward. B2 here, going to be trying to help engage some rifles. Stuart 6 coming around the corner. Gets the bailout onto the B2. That is very important indeed. Cromwell 7 wasn't even needed. The Stuart 6 got the job done. These Stuarts can be so damn potent sometimes, and certainly showing that being the case there. Landerschutzen slowly but surely being chewed apart by rifles and motorized rifles. But they're actually going to find themselves pinned down as the Feldgendarmerie kills off the half-track, pins the motorized rifles in the process. That's going to be a motorized rifle squad gone. And the Bevellongs are continuing to take ground on the bottom side. So it's not the end of the world just yet for Walther. He took a lot of losses early on, but we are only 1 minute from Phase B when he gets the 135 points per minute, and he can start to make a little bit of a recovery based on his current position. Feldgendarmerie here. Looks like they might be able to take out these motorized rifle leader. Player doesn't want that to happen, of course. Going to be falling those back with the smoke. Cromwell 7 going to be helping surrender the Landerschutzen in the mid there. Pak 38 revealing itself by firing at the M5 half-track. Cromwell 7 going to be moving into line of sight on purpose in order to take that out. The Stuart 6 is going to have to be careful though. Is it going to be able to pin it in time? Does manage to. Those 30 cows do the job. Pak 38 without the veterancy really not working very well. Cromwell 7 coming around the corner is going to force back the Panzer 40, allowing the Stuart 6 to clean up the Pak 38. A really, really impressive start here from player, utilising his armour very, very well to put a lot of pressure onto Walther. And it doesn't look like Walther can really bite back as much as player did with his 6-pounders. So these Pak 38s, you know, they've still got work to do. They need to take out the Humber Mark 3, the Stuart 6 and Cromwell 6 on the top side. It looks like Walther's going to be starting to rely on these bombers. Double bombing strike onto the Cromwell 7 and Stuart 6. It's quite nice, but it needs a unit to really take advantage of that. So that can be the Panzer 40 in this case, but it wasn't really close enough. So I don't think it's really going to have too much effect, as the Cromwell 7 and Stuart 6 will just end up reversing away from the Panzer 40 in time. So the Pak 40 here, it's got into a position to fire at the motorised rifle leader, but has revealed its location in doing so. Cromwell 6 now engaging with the 1,200 metre range fire position, and also the 25 pounder coming in with the shots will be able to correct its shot and potentially kill off the Pak 40. This is very precarious on the bottom side for Walther. He has 2 men in the Feldgendarmerie, 1 man in the Landesschützen, and then a couple of weak Bewehrung squads. Once they all go down, this is a huge amount of ground to be gained for player. So having worked his way through this infantry slowly but surely, he will be able to find himself quite a lot of territory. Now I think Walther, bearing in mind he only had a limited amount of units to work with on this bottom side, has done very well to hold as long as he did, because a lot of his points were put into the armour that he lost on the top side. This Cromwell 6 though, looks like it's going to get the better of the Pak 38. Pak 38 almost killed the Stuart 6, couldn't quite get a shot on target. Okay, the Pak 38 managing to fall back in time. Pak 40 taking shots at the 6 pounder. It's one good thing about the German AT guns, is they do have that HE capability, at least the 1,200 metre range variants. And that does make them a force to be reckoned with versus other AT, and that is a clean shot. Just before the shell lands, Pak 40 kills the Cromwell 6 on the top side. That gets rid of a lot of pressure here for Walther. Walther can now potentially take advantage of that. This Pak 40 can move into a much more aggressive position now, and there really isn't too much player can do about it until he sort of invests in, I was going to say artillery, but he does have the 25 pounder, so maybe he can use that. Trouble is, this Pak 40 is still very healthy, so it's going to be difficult to get rid of. Stug 3 now going to be moving up. That's a 2-star Stug. That can do a lot of damage to the Humber Mark 3 and Stuart 6, but there is 2 6-pounders here. And 6-pounders with that 11 AP, more than enough to, well, just enough to penetrate the 10 front armour of the Stug 3. Now at a 1 AP difference, is about a 18% or maybe less chance of penetration. I can't quite remember the exact figure, but either way it's very low. So the Stug 3 might be able to take advantage of that at max range, but I don't think that that's something that Walther's really prepared to do right now, as he can't really risk losing the Stug 3 as well too easily. Now that bombing strike, like I mentioned, didn't end up killing or surrendering the Cromwell 7 and Stuart 6. They're still all good. And it looks like this Panzer 40 is in a bit of a tough spot, because if the Stuart 6 does decide to advance, then it will probably end up dying. Oh wow, the Pak 40 is dead. Was that a 25 pounder shot on target? I mean, it's been firing there for long enough that it may as well have got the kill, but that's incredible. The Pak 40 went from 6 health to none very, very quickly indeed. We do see that the Pak 38 has been taken out on the top side. 6-pounder now not going to engage the Stug 3. It's actually been turned off. I'm not sure why you would turn it off rather than use return fire, but each to their own. Potentially just a accidental mistake there. But either way, the Panther 40 here, is going to get taken out by the Cromwell 7 and the Stuart 6. So that's now going to allow the infantry to continue their advance on this bottom side. And you can see it's actually pushed to a +2, 14 minutes until player takes the victory. He's in a very, very strong position right now, but Walther does have some pretty decent units on the field. So the Stug 3, for example, is actually going to be taking on this 6-pounder at max range. I mentioned how this would be a possibility, and it looks like Walther's going to be taking advantage of that. The Feldgendarmerie, providing the extra 1-star veterancy, makes this Stug 3 actually very accurate, and therefore can kill off a 6-pounder over time. Panzer 4 coming through this town will be able to take care of things like the Cromwell 7s and the Stuart 6s, But, of course, the Stuart 6 and Cromwell 7 pretty decent at close range, so the Panzer IV will still have to be careful about that. Bearing in mind the S307 pack is here though, Walther might be able to cover this bottom side whilst the Panzer IV makes ground on the top side, allowing for a longer range engagement between the Panzer IV and the Cromwell 7. So 13 minutes until player wins. Walther really has to make a play somehow, and I feel like it's going to come down to the bombers. Like if a bomber came in on this bottom side, now with the armour in position, specifically this Panzer IV, these two tanks could be absolutely toast. If a bomber came in, made them fall back, and then the Panzer IV take advantage of that to find decent shots onto those tanks. So that's what I'm looking for here. Of course the motorised rifles could put a spanner in the works if they decide to move up and use the Piat, but it depends if player makes that play and Walther doesn't find them first with the Bavarians that were approaching their position, which he has. So it looks like the Panzer IV should be fine for now, especially with the Bavarians finding and potentially clearing out the motorised rifles. And the 25 pounder, that's now going to engage the Stug 3, since the Stug 3 has killed off the 6 pounder. There's not actually too much in the mid to stop that Stug from moving forwards, but there is the 6 pounder on the top side that's still presenting an issue. And well, since we are into phase B, player does have access to a Firefly or two, so Firefly has been brought on to the field, and that's going to be engaging the Marder 1. Here goes the bombing strike, JU-188, onto the Cromwell 7 and Stuart 6. Now unfortunately for Walther, the way in which these tanks have fallen back from that bombing strike doesn't leave much room for the Panzer IV and S307 pack to find kills, so instead, 6 17 pounders being brought in. Can that kill off the Panzer IV? We'll have to wait and see. It's falling back. Can he find the kill? It's got one more or two more shots. It does find the bailout. Panzer IV has been dealt with. Nice bait there actually. I'm pretty sure player probably knew a bombing strike was coming at some point because he's already had it happen to him once. So having the 17 pounder in position to stop the advance of this Panzer IV is really, really important. Taking out the Panzer IV even more important, although the S307 pack is going to reply with a kill onto the Sherman 3. But at close range, this S307 pack is very vulnerable to the Stuart 6 and the Cromwell 7. Now Walther going to be trying to make a push back on this bottom side. He's brought in the ROA, the Russian infantry, that can do a lot of damage at close range with the Publisher. Can they kill the motorised rifles? Yes they can. Clean those up nicely. Don't want to be engaging at range though, since their DP and Mosin Nagants aren't actually too great. It's only 4 HE and that pretty much matches the rifles. So you don't really want to be forcing that engagement when you could be getting the overwhelming advantage at close range with the 14 HE versus the 8 HE. Oh, the S307 pack there, it does actually manage to find the kill onto the Stuart 6. Cromwell 7 is going to take a shot. And it also goes down, Walther finding the double kill with the S307 pack. Very, very nice indeed. S307 pack really getting the job done there. I really expected the Stuart 6 and Cromwell 7 there to find the kill onto the S307 pack at close range, but the Cromwell 7 didn't even manage to really get a shot off, and that was mainly just timing. It looked like the Stuart 6 came round first, got killed, and then the Cromwell 7 followed afterwards. Potentially just like a miss micro, I guess, from player. Not really making sure that they went round the edge of the tree line at the same time. So, pays the price. Either way, Hummel has been brought in by Walther. Going to be trying to take out these 17 pounders. 17 pounders, of course, going to be a big threat throughout the game if Walther really wants to start relying on armour. Taking out the 17 pounders is very important, and the Hummel is pretty decent for doing so, especially the 2-star Hummel. It can also counter battery the 25 pounder if that continues to cause issues, but it's still a +2, and with the Panzer IV going down on this bottom side, it's actually put Walther in a pretty sticky spot because he had all the forces he needed to really break through, especially with the help of that bombing strike. And although he has killed these two tanks, there's still a Sherman 5 here, and a lot of this infantry does actually have AT. Saying that, one of those squads has gone down. There's another one down here with the Piats. The Stug 3 doesn't make it easy to push though. The Panzer IV much, much easier to push with. because the Stug 3 is an assault gun. 25 pounder, that's going to be engaging another Pak 40 on this top side. Wow, it does actually find the kill. That is nasty. Hummel's going to be trying to counter battery. Meanwhile, on this top side, Stuart 6 taking on one unit of infantry there. Looks like player is going to be trying to make ground on the top side. So going to be using these rifles alongside the Grandma 6 and the Stuart 6 to make some ground. Has the Firefly 5 ready to go against any significant armour. The ROA, they're now pushing in to these orchards still. And it looks like they've taken out the motorised rifle squad that was here. Now they're bumping into rifle squads. Thing is, motorised rifles and ROA actually have, or motorised rifles and rifles, sorry, actually have the same HE at close range. So ROA will defeat them regardless. Sherman 5 and is going to be engaging the SDL Pak. Actually fails to find the kill. Panzerjäger was going to move up to engage at the same time. Instead, it's just going to fall back. Motorised rifle leader actually smokes it off, and the Sherman 5 now going to be pushing aggressively towards the SDL Pak to try and find the kill. There's a really nice player here from player, especially with that smoke onto the Panzerjäger 35. Gives the Sherman 5 all of the time it needs to find this kill. There we go, job done. Now the Panzerjäger can't engage the Sherman 5 on its own, else it will definitely risk dying. Look how much ground these rifles are making though. It really shows how limited Walther's defense is. But a Panther G is on the field, and that could make things very difficult for the Firefly, Cromwell and Stuart combination. On the bottom side, ROA pushing with some Beverungs. They're going to have the help of the Stug 3. This Stug 3 though will have to be careful of the 17 pounder that's trying to move in position. And there's also now a Firefly that can engage that at close range. Oh, Panther G going to be sniping that Stuart on the main road. Drive straight towards, that was like a kamikaze drive towards the Panther G. Didn't manage to fire back at all, but either way, still a +2 for player. Now Walther with a Panther on the field, if he can support that with some infantry, might be able to make quite a lot of ground. So that's what we're going to be looking for here. Sort of the late game comeback of the Axis divisions. It really does basically depend on the engagements between Fireflies and German armour. But with the Ju-188 coming in, that's actually going to be bombing out this 6 pounder. Looks like Walther doesn't want to have to deal with that AT gun. Would also end up killing off the motorised rifle leader. If it can get a bomb on target. I mean, that was pretty damn lucky. It's surrounded by craters. Not a single one actually hit the mark. Now a Tempest going to be coming in, try and find the kill onto the Ju-188. Does manage to make the Ju-188 fall back. A little bit too fast for its own good though. Not sure it's going to be able to find the kill. Currently being attacked from the ground there by the Flak 39. Does find the kill in the end. Tempest, I guess, able to circle around quick enough. But yeah, sometimes those fast aircraft, they can overshoot the mark and allow their target to escape, which can be a problem. But in this case, doesn't particularly matter. Loads of infantry now coming in for Walther, and it's actually getting really far up without deploying, which is quite scary for player, because what this does do is gives away to Walther that there isn't too much actually defending the centre of the map, and it may be something that Walther decides to take advantage of. You can see he's going to be pressing quite aggressively with the U-304, and these 17 pounders, they're staying on return fire. Now this could actually be a glorious bait that actually manages to find the kill onto the Panther G here. Oh, the first shot from the Panther G actually internal fragments the Firefly 5. And the 17 pounder find the kill onto the Panther G though. Panther G reversing to max range. The 17 pounder not quite having the veterancy to get the job done. Panther G gets out of trouble. On the bottom side, Panzerjäger finds the kill onto the half track. KM Führer and the ROA have managed to clean out the bottom side of infantry. So the Sherman 5's all on its lonesome. We'll need some reinforcements. We do see some more infantry on the way. 17 pounder trying to cover this ground. Is going to open up onto the Stug 3. Stug 3 is in a pretty tough spot. 17 pounder will make that fall back or even bail it out with the second shot there. Stug 3 is dealt with. The Walther losing that unit is pretty... oh, that's pretty brutal, honestly. Because the Stug 3 was the only real armor on this bottom side that Walther had to push with. And now it's just going to be infantry versus players armor on that bottom side. But on the top side, 17 pounder has been taken out. Tiger E and the Panther G now pressing aggressively towards a Cromwell 6 and the internal fragmented Firefly 5. Now this Firefly might be able to still do work at close range if it can get reloaded in time, which it currently is. The Bedford supply has come in, but the Tiger might be able to kill that. Walther really needs to let that fire. Kill this Bedford supply. Don't allow the Firefly to be reloaded. Okay, the Firefly did manage to get 9 rounds. So it's got those 9 rounds to work with to kill off a Panther G and the Tiger E. That's going to be pretty tough to work with. Rifles here bumping into ROA. Oh, player there. I think he should have committed. No point in moving them out of cover as they will get absolutely ruined in the open. The ROA there having the heavy cover bonus versus those rifles which did not. Really, really tough. So ROA, they're eventually going to get pinned down by the Crusader AA, but they did manage to kill off the rifles. Panzer is still holding position on that bottom side quite nicely. Panther G now continuing to push on this top side. Firefly's actually got into a pretty good position here. If it can stay tucked behind this tree line, it's going to be able to force a pretty decent engagement against the Panther G, especially if the Panther G is forced to push aggressively past the tree line, which it will be because of the time left in the game. So we're back to a +1, now 6 minutes and 20 again until player can find the victory. But this is going to force Walther to get overly aggressive. Now unless an AT squad can get into this tree line, it looks like Walther might be in a pretty tough spot. 17 pounder has been unloaded. Doesn't have any veterancy though, so the Tiger E might be able to manage to get the better of the 17 pounder. Tempest's going to be coming in with a strafing run to just help out a little bit. That's going to be a shooter knock though. And the 17 pounder will potentially be able to force back the Tiger E for now. Panther G going to be looking to engage the Cromwell 6. Player shouldn't let that happen. Oh, the Hummel coming in with the save. Manages to find the one-shot kill onto the 17 pounder. Walther's certainly putting on a lot of pressure, but look at that kill. Panther G takes out the Firefly 5 on the top side, and the Cromwell 6 is really just not going to be able to do the job. Now the Panther G can get super aggressive, doesn't have to worry anymore. Wow. Player has definitely lost control of that top side with the Firefly going down. It was in a really nice position. I feel like player did not need to go around that edge of that tree line there. I was really hoping he would just keep it behind the tree line, because all he's got to do is stall for time. Now we've got 11 minutes and 15 seconds until player is victorious. Now of course Walther is going to need a hell of a lot of points in order to bring this back. But if he continues at the rate he's going, then we might be able to see a +4 or +5 by the end of the game. He's just got to end up chewing up this Firefly and the Sherman 5 on the bottom side. Actually there's 2 Sherman 5s here. So another Panther G on the bottom might just get the job done. It's actually going to be a Panther G for the mid. So potentially just a top side push, but honestly in order for Walther to bring back this game, he's going to need to control the majority of the map. Now track well destroyed there from the ROA is a good start. They managed to get the Faust Patron on target. We'll be able to find the second hit, no doubt. And so that will be 1 Sherman 5 dealt with. Look at this Panther G go though. It's just pressing forwards. Achilles kind of waiting, but not going to be able to engage the Firefly very easily. It might be able to take out the Tiger at long range, but a Panther G at close range, no chance, because the Achilles just doesn't aim quick enough. It has a really, really slow turret. So on this bottom side, ROA coming in. You find the Faust Patron kill. Going to be moving out again. 7-5, no chance. Does have the off map though to kill those off if he wants to. He could just put an off map strike on this area. really force back the infantry on the bottom side. But Walther, what he needs is his Panther G down here. He doesn't need a Panther G for the mid, because he's got the Tiger, and he's also got the Panther G on the top side. He really just needs to push back on the bottom, kill off these important units, and then he can get himself to a position where he's got +3, +4, and that's when he actually has a chance to win, because time is running out. We've got 9 minutes and 25 seconds left on the clock, and although Walther is pushing a lot of territory, he needs to push more. He needs to get a move on. Panzergrenz, they have actually managed to get all the way up here. They're going to be able to engage the infantry as it comes in, but we'll want to get into cover. U304 managing to help out. Panther G on the main road. These rifles certainly ran into the wrong town. Here comes a bomber, Ju-188. Does manage to pin down the Achilles. Almost pins down the Sherman 5 as well. That's going to open up an engagement for the Tiger. Panther G now pushing through aggressively in the mid. But this Sherman is kind of waiting in ambush. Look at this. If that gets into a really nice position, as soon as these units come past, that Panther G could get killed. I feel like it's going to end up revealing itself to the Panzer 40 though and the U304, in which case the kind of surprise factor will be gone. Yeah, the Panzer 40's gone down. Sherman 5 engaging the infantry at range. Tiger E actually bounced off the front armour of the Achilles. That's not something you see very often. 15 AP versus 8 front armour. Panzergrenz though, still managing to deal with a lot of this infantry. But motorised rifles getting in at close range is not ideal. Can the Tiger E get the job done? No, it cannot. 17 pounder hits the mark. Track will damage Tiger E, and now the Sherman 5 should be able to finish that off unless the 17 pounder does first. On the bottom side, Sherman 5 and the Firefly 5C are pushing through aggressively. Here comes our off map. That's going to be trying to pin down the KM Fiora and the ROA. Ju-188 is going to try and save the day versus these tanks, and while the Landerschutzen going to be looking for a surrender. If the Landerschutzen move to this position just here, then they might be able to catch that Sherman 5 as it moves back through the tree line. I feel like that's actually a really big mistake from Walther. Why would you not just walk them into the tree line? Because that would be a rifle squad and the Sherman 5 surrendered. I don't think the rifle leader's in range to stop that from happening. Yeah, odd. Either way, we see the 25 pounder go down. Hummel's going to take care of that. Tempest's going to be engaging the Ju-188 at the backside. But Walther is still making ground, and the Panther G has come through the mid. It's actually going to take out the Sherman 5. The Sherman 5 that was in the orchard did get taken out. Now it's going to be the Panther G versus the Achilles. That's going to be taking out that. Currently +2 on the board. 6 minutes 40 seconds left. I don't think Walther's going to find enough territory. He needs like +5 now. Otherwise it's just not going to be enough. Player finding himself the 2,159 points is looking to be enough to secure the victory here. Panzergrenz do manage to surrender another unit of rifles. Looks like Walther will be able to clean up these units as well, unless the motorised rifle leader actually jumps forwards and gets the Piat shot off. That would be quite interesting. This Panther G though, definitely not done. Strong comeback here from Walther, but really just not in time. And well, these units still doing work on this bottom side. The ROA actually ran out of Faustpatrons, so the Sherman 5 OP here able to just gun them down. And the Landerschutzen of course don't have any AP value, so that's not really something that can save the day. Just an SPW 204 that's standing in the way. Oh, the Piat coming in. Of course it misses. Had a chance to kill the Panther G there. Didn't quite land the shot. Motorised rifles will be able to jump forwards any moment though and take another shot. Surprised that player actually hasn't done so just yet. Oh, he does find the shot. Misses again. There goes half track on the top side. 17 pounder getting in precision though. Oh, the 4 health. 17 pounder at 400 meter range. That Panther is toast. Surely we're not going to see it happen. Walther surrenders, and after 35 minutes and 10 seconds, player is victorious. Yeah, I think Walther realised he just couldn't find the points quick enough for the comeback, so player's going to take the victory with the 2,159 points to 738. And, well, winning with a negative KD, 2,520 kills to 3,260 losses, looking to become a trend in this best of 3 between these two players. Awesome game once again, player getting very aggressive early on, Walther managing to find the comeback with the help of the Panther Gs, but just not in time. Too many points were made on the side of player, and that caused Walther a lot of issues. If we look at the kills early on, the Stuart 6s did really well. The Cromwell 7 came in and dealt with the other sort of outlying units that Walther had left, the B2 and the Panzer 40 here. So quite nice use of the Cromwell 7. Probably could have found a little bit better kills, like maybe a Panzer 4 and so on, but that's okay. 25 pounder dealing with these Pack 40s in the mid was really important. Having that extra pressure versus the Pack 40s was just, yeah, like I said, so important. Because when the Pack 40 took out the Cromwell 6, it meant that there was still something to pin it down. Because that Cromwell 6 was the only thing really stopping the Pack 40 from opening up and cleaning up the majority of the top side of the map. And that's when you get those Pack 40s with like the huge kill lists where they've killed like AT guns, all of the light armor you can think of, and all that kind of stuff. 17 pounder did manage to clean up the Panzer 4 and the Tiger E, also took out the Stug 3. So this 17 pounder really showing up, and I think the 17 pounders, even though they were missing some pretty ridiculous shots because of their lack of veterancy, still managed to do a lot of damage, so that's very important. Also using the Tempest to start putting pressure onto the Ju-188s was pretty important, and that's actually something that I think Walther could have done better, is timed his bombing strikes a bit more, because it seemed like every time he went for one of the bombing strikes, he just didn't really have anything to follow up, or didn't have things in the right position to follow up. And that meant that those bombing strikes kind of became useless and a waste of points, which could have otherwise been invested elsewhere on the map. So that's a big thing that happened throughout this game. This Puma really didn't end up doing too well. It got completely overrun by the Humber Mark III rush at the start, and that very large aggression on the top side. But one thing that Walther did do very well was manage his infantry on the bottom side to really kind of prevent, or at least make back some ground against player when player had all of his eggs in one basket on the top side. So I like the fact that Walther did get aggressive in the face of the limited defences from player. But this SDL pack, what a play that made. The double kill onto the Stuart 6 Cromwell 7 was very, very important. If that had gone down, then the Stuart 6 and Cromwell 7 could have absolutely ran over that bottom side. But here comes the Panther G to the rescue. Cleaned up the Firefly, Stuart 6, Cromwell 6, Sherman 5 there. And then the Hummel. This was actually a really nice purchase. Allowed Walther to put a lot of pressure onto the 17 pounders and kill them off. Same with that 25 pounder. Managed to find the kill on that in the end. Tiger E didn't do a great amount, but definitely helped support the Panther G on the top side. And this Panther G, once again, yeah, getting plenty of kills, supporting that push. But I would have liked to have seen the Panther G actually move to the bottom side. I feel that was actually a huge mistake, because if the Panther G was on that bottom side, it would have been enough to support the infantry down there in order to gain control of more of the map, in order to push a +4, +5 earlier, which obviously was never going to happen by the end of the game. So there we have it. Another really close game. Considering the position that Walther is in at the end of that match. So I am very much looking forward to a third game, since we are now 1-1 in the series of this semi-final. Absolutely incredible stuff. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.